welcome. I'm Ijoma Onyato. Tonight, President Muhammadu Buhari meets with security chiefs as part of efforts to address security challenges in various parts of the country. Vice President Professor Yemi Oshibajo faults the non-prosecution of high-profile religious cases, says it puts a question mark on the country's administration of justice. Minister of Aviation Hadi Silika says planned rehabilitation of Nnamdi Azikiwe International Runway will gulp 5.8 billion naira. And US President-elect top security nominees warn of Russia threat during Senate screenings.
On business news tonight, Interministerial and Advisory Group meeting holds in Abuja on Nigeria's first sovereign green bond issuance.
On sports news tonight, Nigeria's Super Eagles move up one place to occupy 50th position in FIFA's latest ranking.
From Abuja, I'm Ibrahim Adra. APC Southwest leaders pledge a common front to issues affecting the region after a meeting in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital.
The Minister of Defence, Muhammad Dan Ali, has clarified that no conclusion has been reached on the issue of a standby force to be deployed to the Gambia, saying the matter of forceful removal of President Yahya Jammeh is to be handled by the regional body, ECOWAS. This clarification follows reports that Nigeria has assembled about 800 troops to effect the removal of President Jammeh if he insists on remaining in power after January the 19th. The minister was speaking after a meeting of security chiefs with President Muhammadu Buhari at the presidential villa. The minister was speaking after that meeting and it was called to discuss the prevailing insecurity in southern Kaduna, the Niger Delta and other parts of the country. According to the Chief of Army Staff, troops have been moved to southern Kaduna to put a stop to the violence.
No, our troops are already in southern Kaduna. We have our special forces operating there, along with all other security agencies. And we intend also to have an exercise very soon in southern Kaduna to cover some parts of Plateau and indeed part of Kano State completely. So it's part of our strategy also this year to continue all the exercises we've had before. We'll be having exercise Harbin Kunama 2, which will come into southern Kaduna State and parts of Plateau and part of Kano State around Falgore Forest. And then we have further exercise Crocodile Smile in the Niger Delta, and indeed exercise Python Dance, but we are going to rename that exercise Python Dance for the Southeast this year also.
Meanwhile, the Chief of Defence Staff, General Abayomi Olonishakin, is of the view that the lack of tolerance among various ethnic groups is largely responsible for the spate of attacks in many parts of the country, including southern Kaduna. The Defence Chief made the remark during his recent visit to some of the communities that were attacked by suspected herdsmen in Jama and Kaura local government areas of Kaduna State.
Homes, schools, places of worship are among the worst hit in a once peaceful community. The Chief of Defence Staff, General Abayomi Olonishakin, visits Jema local government area of Kaduna State in company of top military officers. Worried by the extent of damage he has seen, the defense chief, in an interactive session with residents, implored them to imbibe the culture of tolerance.
Please embrace peace. Talk to yourself. Tolerate one another.
Thereafter, he takes his message of tolerance to the policies of some traditional rulers in the community.
I want to crave your indulgence, Your Royalness. So please talk to the people. Continue to talk to them. that they have to tolerate one another.
We are happy now that, there is promise that the army will now be going into the forest.
Meanwhile, many residents who fled their homes in the aftermath of the attacks have started returning home following the presence of security operatives in the community.
People are outside, but since we have seen soldiers surrounding us, today we are happy.
But for some residents, there are still some concerns they want the military to address.
The only way, sir, if this thing was stopped, truly is to be able to arrest the usage of these guns by these Fulanis in terms of grazing.
As normalcy gradually returns to these communities in Jema local government area of Kaduna State, it is hoped that the presence of the military will not only forestall any renewed attacks, but will encourage more residents to return to a place they once called home.
And staying on the issue of security, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, has criticized the non-prosecution of suspects involved in high-profile cases of religious conflicts. The Vice President, who is speaking at the launch of a book on religion and the making of Nigeria in Abuja, observed that there is a fundamental problem with the nation's administration of justice and law enforcement. Our correspondent Gloria Umezuke reports.
Incessant killings and persistent conflicts under the umbrella of religion have left many displaced or outrightly disenchanted. The Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, criticized the non-prosecution of cases bordering on killings during religious crises.
We must fundamentally address the question of our administration of justice system. We must address that issue of law enforcement. And we've talked about the question of state police. To what extent should states be given the right to prosecute? What sorts of offenses are federal offenses? Religious offenses should they be federal? Should they be categorized as terrorism so that they are treated in a different way? We must bring ourselves together to talk about these issues and to resolve these issues in a sane manner.
The issue of the inordinate representation of religion by some Nigerians also came up. Prominent Nigerians here dissect the real meaning of religion, its relevance in the making of Nigeria, and reasons behind non-prosecution of cases.
You will never find a situation in which people started arguing in the church or in the mosque. They're largely about economic opportunities and people just seeking a better life. So I think that we need to get our hands around the correlation between religion and really development and constitutionalism.
No matter the internal wranglings, rivalries, dogmatic contestations within any religion, what concerns us is that the innocent are often those who pay the highest price.
The federal government is looking to reinforce action on prosecution of those involved in these mindless killings to heal visible or invisible scars and safeguard the future of innocent Nigerians. Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
To aviation, the planned rehabilitation of the runway at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, is to gulp 5.8 billion naira. The Minister of State for Aviation, Senator Hadi Sirika, gave this figure at a meeting with the Senate alongside his counterpart in the Transport Ministry, Chibuike Amechi. This amount does not contain the relocation of government agencies, personnel and equipment to the Kaduna airport, which is to be used for 6 weeks, while the runway at the Abuja airport is under repair. Our correspondent Linda Akigbe reports.
The Minister of Transport, Rotimi Amechi, and the Minister of State for Aviation, Senator Hadi Sirika, walk into the Senate chamber. We are here to explain the reason for the planned closure of Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. The Minister of State Aviation had announced that the airport would be closed for 6 weeks in March to allow for the repair of the runway. But these lawmakers are vehemently opposed to the closure of the airport for 6 weeks, saying it would seriously inconvenience local and international travelers who would have to land at the Kaduna airport before driving down for almost 3 hours to Abuja.
The Abuja runway, which is now the subject matter,
The Minister of State Aviation explains to lawmakers the reason for the planned closure of the airport.
As a matter of fact, in all length and breadth of the runway have totally collapsed. And this collapse, it is not the surface. It's not the asphalt surface. It is the entire architecture of that runway from bottom up in all of the 4 layers.
Questions and answers follow.
Did you explore other options that may not necessarily mean closing down the airport before the runway is repaired?
We have maintained runways and closed airports at night. It's not new. If you are digging up the entire architecture and building up a new runway like we're going to do, it's tough, difficult. It affects the riding quality of the runway.
I think you've told us that the repairs of the runway is 5.8 billion. Will you still believe that it is prudent for us, for that 6 weeks, to spend almost the same cost of the rehabilitation in just carrying out this exercise?
I do believe that even if it will be doubled, it is worth the life of the citizens of Nigeria and those that are coming into Nigeria to do businesses.
The Senate is yet to arrive at a decision from this interaction with the Minister of State for Aviation, but he has been asked to return next week Tuesday for a continuation of this discussion with the cost of the logistics for the repair of the runway. The upper chamber has also asked the Minister of State for Aviation to consult with the Nigerian Society of Engineers before he appears before the Senate next week Tuesday. From the National Assembly, Linda Akibe, Channels Television News.
In the meantime, work has resumed at the new terminal building that was abandoned some years ago at the Kaduna airport, and the road linking the airport to the city is also under repair.
That is anticipated to be landing and taking off on this surface.
This is the Kaduna airport, situated about 22 kilometers northwest of the state capital. Here, rehabilitation is ongoing at the international terminal as the facility gears up for its new role when the Abuja airport closes in March. One of the contractors handling the project, speaking off camera, said that the project could be delivered on time if funds are released quickly. At the moment, passengers are using the old VIP and Hajj terminals that may not be enough to take the expected surge in passenger traffic. There's also the fear by many concerning the new terminal building and control tower. But the Minister of State for Aviation is confident that everything will fall into place.
Within the next few weeks, before the due date, the terminal building will be ready. However, also just to say that even if in an event where there's a force majeure act of God that we're not able to finish the terminal building, the other terminal buildings that we've seen that they're using for Hajj is adequate enough to process those passengers. So all of this can happen and we get it functional. Also, just in case there is an act of God, we're not able to complete the tower, we would still use the watchtower, which is being used now, that belongs to the fire service. And in an event that one will fail, we'll also have a mobile tower that is currently now in Abuja. We'll move it down here. As a matter of fact, MD Nama, you move that tower from Abuja to here as fail-safe and backup and redundant equipment.
When the repairs of Abuja airports begin, passengers will not only fly into Kaduna Airport, but will also face a 2-hour journey. The state government also says it has commenced major work on the Nnamdi Azikiwe bypass leading to the airport, installing street lights on the road in order to make passengers comfortable, while transportation will also be seamless.
We have on ground 50 vehicles, this carrier, and the arrangement is ongoing with the state government to make sure that there is an addition of 150 of these vehicles that will come because of the influx of guests that will be coming to Kaduna through the arrangement made to favor Kaduna State International Airport.
The Kaduna Airport has a 3,000-meter runway, but the poser is whether the runway is capable of handling jumbo jets and cargo aircrafts that would be landing at the airport daily when the Abuja Airport runway is closed on March the 8th, 2017.
In part 2, after the break, mudslide strikes community in Bayelsa State, destroying houses and property. That's in a moment. To join us again.